Oh, Lauren, take one. My name is Lauren Lobshaw. I am from Cape Town. My pronouns are they, them.
My name is Trey DeLange. I am from the small town of Pietermaritzburg, KZN.
My real name is Michaela Jody Wagner. I go by Faye though. I'm from Retreat, Cape Town, born and raised, yeah.
I'm like a brown, queer, lesbian, pansexual, non-binary. I'm figuring myself out at the age of 31, but that's me.
I go by he, him, or they, them pronouns.
My pronouns are she and her. My sexuality that I identify with is pan and demisexual.
I am a filmmaker. I work as an assistant director on like really toxic sets. And yeah, I write and produce, and I'm also an actor.
I write, I create music, I design clothing, just anything that has some form of creative outlet. I sing, I dance, I act, kind of.
I have recently created a documentary on land reform in South Africa, and that was my first short film.
I'm a makeup artist, I'm a film student, a styling student, and I have a journalism diploma.
I feel like growing up in a society where you're made to feel that you're the exception or the odd one out, it puts a lot into perspective from an early age.
You know, as a child, I didn't really know that there was an option of what queer can look like. In my community and in my mom's friends, I knew a lot of colored like gay men, and they were celebrated and loved. And I went to pageants and I was in like the hair salon, and that was a different type of queer. And then I knew about like very stereotypical so-called dykes as lesbians. And so I didn't know that there was any sort of other option in between that. And I knew I wasn't that, or so I thought.
I guess that I was lucky because we got a lot of gay people in my family, and I made a lot of queer friends from a young age.
Growing up in KZN, it is a very heteronormative, toxic masculine town, especially coming from a community of color. There's a lot of expectations placed on especially men of color to have this very dominant masculinity about them. So I think that it does definitely depend on the context of where you're speaking about in South Africa.
You know, now it feels like currently everyone is wanting to add a queer voice or a queer person to a campaign or a queer look. You would think that it's getting easier because now the spaces are opening up to that. But a lot of the time it seems like being a queer creative, everyone wants your work without having to pay you or without having to have you in a position where you're calling the shots, you're directing it, you're controlling the image. Like everyone wants, I want your queer flavor, but I don't actually want like your whole project.
The most refreshing, revitalizing experience to see these people taking up space and being so unapologetic in what they've been doing.
It's not much of a community, I'd say. Maybe someone would argue against me. Because there is such a little work, and because most of the time it's like one queer person in a campaign, one queer person in a film, one queer person in an advert, one queer person in the team, that we're competing with each other.
I think we're all just like one big giant gay family.
From a personal perspective, I am obviously studying in Stellenbosch and have been based there for the past 4 years. And being in a town that's very conservative and traditional, my answer to that would be no, that it's not really the safest space or the most welcoming space for queer creatives. But then travel just a bit inland to Cape Town and it's like a whole different story. Like here people are free to express themselves and people are freely accepted and it's more progressive.
Yeah, sometimes sets are really, really toxic and very like patriarchal and just like male driven, and a lot of the time that doesn't allow anyone to say, hey, I feel uncomfortable, like, hey, I don't want to be in this change room and you've put us all together, or you've made it about gender and now I'm standing here and I don't want to dress like this. There isn't space for that conversation on set.
I want to say yes and no because I think queer people are always going to face homophobia, transphobia, but as long as we kind of stick together and make sure that we support one another no matter what, we can create those safe spaces.
We need workshops, so we need like understanding, we need to have conversations, because sometimes we just expect people to go like, this is what pronouns are, this is what queerness is, respect it. But they have no understanding, especially for the older generation.
I've found that collaboration within the creative community happens regardless of orientation or preference or gender or anything like that. I feel that creatives in themselves have the mindset that we're here to create. It's not about the labels attached to you.
If you're a queer person that has a big following and you need to help someone, rather help another small queer creator.
It's growing. I think that especially like in a commercial setting of Cape Town in South Africa, we're getting a lot younger directors directing commercials and adverts and campaigns. And so it's becoming a bit more alternative. And in that alternative, there's space for queers.
No. I feel like the visibility of the queer community is only starting to make its presence known. Yes, the visibility is there, but it is not where or anywhere close where it needs to be. And I think that's where the work for us comes in. Like, we need to still keep taking up the space and keep putting it out there.
No, I think that the local queer creatives and talent is really not on a pedestal that it should be. There firstly isn't enough like opportunity to learn skills, and then there isn't enough opportunity to show it unless we are creating our own things. And I think that's very limited, and I think we're visible to each other, but we're not really visible on like a South African creative, you know, like scene.
I think it's coming up slowly but surely. I think we're just taking spaces. We're not waiting for people to give us spaces anymore. We're just like, we're here and we're gonna take this space now.
I don't have words like that, Jude. Catherine is a rapper. She can write all things. But I think there is an authenticity and a realness and a truth that sits here as like a global South is really moving away from what the Western is kind of trying to like force on us.
I guess every country has its own unique traits and properties, but here there's so much diversity, and it's such a mixture of different opinions, of different languages, of different cultures and backgrounds, that we have this like mixing pot of creativity and diversity. I feel like you can't fake something genuine, and you can be superficial, but to be authentic it's sincere and it's real.
I think that we're very bold. We don't shy away from showing who we are. We don't shy away from the way we dress, our makeup, our hair. Like, you're gonna judge us regardless of what we have on or how we express ourselves, so we might as well come as our full selves.
I think so. I think there's a constant conversation with yourself about whether I'm being authentic and whether I'm being real, and how much I'm performing, how much I'm code switching for white spaces, or how much I'm hiding my queerness. But then you sit in a conversation with yourself all the time going like, do these people know me? Did they actually get to see like a truthful representation of Lorcan?
If I was kind of closeted, and I feel like I wouldn't be able to express myself fully, because I'd kind of like be hiding a lot of myself.
I feel like authenticity is down to the individual's own beliefs or the individual's own outcomes, whether they're queer or not. It's not necessarily a defining factor. But within the queer community, I do feel, from my experience, most of the queer people I know, especially queer people of color, have gone through so much in their lives in terms of discrimination or prejudice, that they've gotten to a point where they don't know how to be anything but real. I feel like it's just a part of you. It's a part of the way you think. It's the part of the way you perceive the world. It's a part of the way that you interact with the people around you. And if you hone into that and you are accepting of that, it opens the possibilities for you to be so much more and to achieve so much more. I feel like there's so much beauty in the acceptance of yourself and your own outlooks, and finding a way to get the meeting point between that and your art.
I think queerness gives power. No one chooses to be gay, no one chooses to be queer, but if you can say proudly, I am queer, and this is me, that holds a lot of power, and that power, I think, feeds your creative energy, it feeds your work, it feeds what you do.
I think fully, because being queer is a part of who I am. Without that, I wouldn't fully be myself. It allowed me to meet other queer people that have inspired me a lot. So without that, I wouldn't have met these people that have inspired my makeup, my fashion, my hair.
I feel like this is allowing people to see that the queer community are just as prevalent as the non-queer community, and we're allowed to take up space and we're valid in these spaces. So I don't see it as any form of tokenization. I feel like it's more just providing the grounds for us to speak and to be heard.
This is a difficult question because I feel like queer people are constantly being tokenized and, you know, used for queer baiting and things like that. But I also do believe that when we do get opportunities like this, we should take it so that whether people are tokenizing us or not, at least we're getting our voices out there. And whatever people do with it, we know that what we're saying, or what I'm saying, is true to who I am. And if people want to tokenize it, that's on them, it's not on me.
There's space for both, and that you can be tokenized and take on the opportunity to give voice and to give platform and to teach and to educate. Most of the things that I have been asked to be involved in, people have awareness. And I think when you have awareness and respect and you see what you're taking from the person and what you're going to do with that, that it doesn't take away the tokenizing, but it does, you're focusing on what this is, and this is giving opportunity and giving platform and giving space to have conversation. I take on the tokenizing and then I do whatever I want in the space, and I have the conversations and I'll call it out.
How necessarily would you ensure that the brand's intents are authentic or genuine?
I think we need to hire more queer people to kind of head on campaigns.
I think also, like, you know, when it's Pride Month, then all of these stores come out with rainbows and queer stuff, and it's just like, no, we want to see that stuff all year round, not just when you guys want to highlight us and make a quick buck of our sexuality.
Being told that you're invalid or you're not or you're incapable can be a lot for a person to hear, like, you know, over a period of time. And I just want people that hear this to know that you are loved, that you are capable, that you are valid, that you are amazing, that you are beautiful and strong, and you're able to accomplish these things that society has told you that you can't. And it's almost just unlearning that process, and it's unlearning the insecurities that they've almost projected onto you.
I didn't come out to my mom until I was 30 years old. By then I was already like doing all the things, but it was just about not feeling like she was going to understand or that my family was going to understand. And that it's really lonely. It can be lonely and going like, I am alone in this. I'm the only one that feels like this. I'm the queer cousin. Then reach out to people. Like if someone asks me, hey, is there something queer that's happening? I feel suffocated at home or around the friends that I'm in. I'll invite you, like come through to Zero, come on a Saturday, come on a Sunday, come to like once a month queer picnics, get to meet people so that you feel like you're not alone, because it can feel really alienating.
The way that people treat you is only a reflection of the way that they treat themselves. So never take that for face value, never take it personally, because they would never treat you any worse than they were already treating themselves.
When people ask me around like being non-binary and, you know, like what that looks like, are you going to change your name? Are you going to use these pronouns? Are you going to dress a certain way? Are you going to look a certain way? There isn't an end goal. Just allow yourself freedom to fuck up and to be a fuck up. I didn't want to disappoint anyone else, and so I just, you know, try to stay on the straight and narrow line. But it's fun to like be a mess at some point, and it's fun to experience life and go like, cool, that's not me. And the only way you figure out what you like and what you don't like and what type of sex you like and who you're attracted to is by doing it safely. But yeah.
Just 100% be yourself, because people are going to judge you no matter what. So you might as well just show up as your true self.